We said, okay, we'll hold it when we come back.
I am setting up the live stream, just giving you a heads up.
Are you on one screen? Call them, I don't know. You were having lunch now?
Couple of weird things happened, yeah.
All right. We're gonna get going. We're still waiting on one member, but we do have guests, so I thought we will start our meeting, and we have limited time in our room today until 4:30, so we need to stay on track. Good afternoon, my name is Sue Cahill, I'm the planning director for the city of Kingston, and this is the Kingston's Tree Commission meeting of June 14th. I want to welcome everybody. I'll go around the table and introduce. We have Corinne DeTeal, who's a member. We have George Profis, who is our New York State DEC forester. We have Teddy Collins, who's a tree commission member, and we have Anita Collins, who is a representative of the CAC of the city of Kingston. You all got the agendas emailed out to you, but because we have guests, I'm gonna just allow them to go first, and then they can hang out if they choose, or they can go enjoy the weather outside. Big interest. So I want to introduce Nina Pasterpak. I'm sure you all know her. She is the county clerk. She's also very much involved in the 150th commemorative activities that are happening throughout the year for the city of Kingston. So they have a tree planting that they are interested in doing down at the old city visitor center at the foot of Broadway. Anita, I don't know if you want to speak. I did print out, I don't know who that was that posed for you, but I printed out.
Thank you. So I put it somehow, you did color, so you're even better than me. So
These are just some photos of where it's to be. Is everybody familiar with the location down where the old visitor center was at 20 Broadway?
Yeah.
At the base of the hill? Okay, so the grass area there is an area that they want to do a tree planting. When were you scheduled to do that, Anita?
yeah, sure. So this is Alice Wallace, our chief deputy county clerk. So Alice and I met with the Hudson River Maritime Museum, excuse me, and Paul Tobin, who is part of the Lenape tribe, and every year we do renewal of the treaty. The original treaty is filed in our office. It was first executed back in 1655. It's the original treaty, and the original wampum belt is also filed in our archives. And every year we do a renewal of that treaty, and we exchange gifts and so forth. So this year on August 5th, we're going to do that renewal on the Clearwater at the Hudson River Maritime Museum. So one of the things that was suggested that we do, Paul Tobin came up with the idea, is to actually plant a peace tree down at the visitor center at the bottom of the Strand. And what they would like to plant is an apple tree. And it's an Esopus Spitzenberg apple tree. It has grafts from it because the first Esopus war was started when two Native American women picked apples from a tree, and they were killed by a Dutch settler, and that's what started the first Esopus war. So he thought this would be very symbolic for peace and moving forward and so forth, and that's why he picked this type of tree. So we would plant it that day on August 5th at 1 o'clock. They would maintain the tree, they'll water it, it's just, it's a small graft of a tree, so it's not a large tree.
Who's gonna maintain it?
Well, so Paul Tobin, who's part of the NAPI plan, they will maintain it, water it and so forth, and I'm sure the city will also do the same. So we are coming to you, we spoke to the mayor in regard to it, we spoke to the Maritime Museum, so we have everything in place, and then reached out to Sue to get the approval of the tree commission. So if you have any questions or anything, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
This is Vince Archer.
I'm sorry.
Good.
So,
Sounds good to me.
yeah, I think it's a nice idea. When Nina first wrote to me about it, and I had heard about it, and then I said, this is kind of interesting because we just planted our first fruit tree as a commission at the community garden for Arbor Day. So it was interesting that she suggested apple tree to me, and I think it's a great idea. So I'm asking for a motion to endorse the project from the commission?
And motion to do.
Okay. I have second. Okay, anything on the discussion?
I was just wondering, like, is there like, really another apple tree nearby to kind of like pollinate, this planting of apples, like? Also, do you need to have like another apple tree nearby to kind of like cross pollinate, to kind of like, I don't know if this tree is gonna be able to self pollinate to do apples? Or like sometimes you need the male and the female, or you need like, like 2 trees nearby to have like.
I don't know the answer to that question. I can find out about you're saying that they may have to plant 2 of
Yeah,
those apple trees
Sometimes
together. Okay, yeah, I don't know.
because it would be nice to have the fruit.
Right, yeah. There would be. So I will reach out to them and ask them, they do have one that's a black, Oxford and one that's a Suncrest. So apparently Sophus.
Here's the, I'm sorry, here's the list that she sent me in that email.
Okay. Yes, I don't know, we have to.
And the only other question, so I guess we have was, we want to make sure, and we check with, probably DPW, make sure there's no lines or anything there.
You call underground. I'll send you an email and I'll put that in there. You call one number and you give them, you call like a week in advance. Don't call now because they'll say, forget it, and call us back. You call like a week and a half in advance. You tell them where the location is. Then they send out to all the underground utilities. They'll send to the water department, they'll send to DPW for sewer, and the laterals, they'll send to Central Hudson, the telephone, Verizon. All of them get notified and then they'll all mark out and they should email you back when they've gone and marked out.
Okay.
But they know when you're gonna dig and they'll ask you like, are you hand digging it or machine digging? They'll probably hand dig if it's
Yes.
one. Usually if you hand dig, it's not a big deal. If you were machine digging, like a foundation or something, it's a much bigger deal for them, but yeah.
Okay, great, and then that we can advance.
Yeah, we can have in advance, you know.
Down on it.
Okay, any other questions?
I think we-
They're all copying down your tree
Yeah,
tips.
Okay, keep that, yeah.
Well, I have to make a report, so.
Okay, all right, you go, Kitty. Okay, so there's a motion and a second. Can I just have a show of hands to support that? Okay, all right, motion carried. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone.
By the way, just offhand, it looks like they would go cross pollinate because the grafts are of a different species, so they've already grafted them on.
Oh, they-
Yeah.
So
Okay, so
that's probably there for that reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna check, but I think that that's pretty shit, right? Makes sense. Right? It's not the rootstock, it's a graft, you know?
Yeah.
It says rootstock and then
With these,
then
so
would
with
be
grafts.
grafts. So
Yeah.
that must be why there's grafts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Great, okay, well, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
You have a big day.
Okay,
It's
can I have my
a
quotes
16th
back?
century idea with the 21st century.
I need my papers back. Unless you got, I just need the
Is
email on
this
one.
man
photo.
in this picture, is this?
That
Paul Tobin?
is, yes, that would be, yes, Paul Tobin. Okay,
Is this something that done for you? I mean, the treaty or something?
yeah, yes, yeah, that's what she just said, they do it every year, it's kind of an annual event for them. And they do a different, like, they exchange gifts each year, so each year it's something different, so this is what they want to do this year. It's kind of neat. Okay, so then let's go on to 16 Roosevelt Avenue. I sent around that information to everybody. That was a tree which a neighbor had complained about originally because the branches were falling on their property. It's a large tree. I had DPW go out and take a look at it. And the recommendation from DPW, which is what I sent around, was to direct them to remove it. So I do have copies of the package that I sent around to everybody. If you want to take a look at it, if you don't remember seeing it, that's what I had sent out.
I brought my computer, but I realized I can't connect, so.
Yeah, it's a fairly large tree.
Yeah, I remember that, I remember us looking at it. Well, I would have to say, if the neighbors are complaining, dropping branches, and it doesn't
No,
sound like
it's
it's
dropping,
the first
it's not,
time.
it's dropping on their lawn, neighbor's lawn, but it's dropping in the,
Well, I was gonna say,
in
it's
the
been in the
roadway at the
street.
same time. So DPW has a record of going out there and actually cleaning branches up on a few occasions. So now is the
And if
appropriate
you're
time.
saying it's dying, is that the problem?
Yeah, it's not a healthy tree. Okay, so if I could get a motion on that,
Emotion
okay,
with removal. And then.
With
as
the
long as they follow
conditions,
standard
right.
conditions.
with standards, okay.
I couldn't see from the picture,
It's-
is there room for a new?
I can't tell from the picture.
We always put that into our letters, it's one of our standard now to replace, if, you know, if at all possible, replace. And now we're putting in the application too, if they wanna get on our list. If they're paying to take it down, I feel that they qualify for our list.
And also, you always send them the application, because we had two last year, and now we have two that we
Yeah.
haven't given for
Yep,
this year.
Yep, we always mention you guys, yep.
Does it mean that in the removal, we select to grind the roots, so there's space for a new tree?
Yeah.
Yes,
Grind the stump in.
Yeah.
not the
yep,
roots.
yeah, that's one of the standard, grind the stump below grade. Mhm.
The roots are,
Yeah, I know, I'm not mistaken.
take you all.
Okay, so Vince has motioned, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, all in favor? Okay. All right, that takes care of that one. All right, I did have also, I sent around the Tree City Reward Grant opportunity. I don't know, that was a while ago. Kyla and I thought that it might be nice to look at the Henry Street intersection. We're still checking to see what ultimately will be happening there, but at one point, that intersection had a nice Christmas tree that the Midtown neighborhood used for a street tree, you know, a tree lighting ceremony seasonally. So we thought it might be a nice gesture to put something back like that there. And with this grant, you know, you can plant a prominent, you know, a fairly prominent tree. So if that's what we were thinking of, I don't know if anybody else had any other thoughts on that.
If you don't mind, I wanted to just, when the Broadway Streetscape was happening, there was an enormous amount of concern that the last real shade trees were going, the sycamores in front of the Y had been lost the last time they did. The rest of them had been lost about a decade earlier when they did the Broadway earlier. So, and most of the trees that are built on Broadway are going to be quite small, not really providing much shade. And the consolation that was offered was, well, there is that triangle that's going to be new, and that is going to be a place that a shade tree could be put.
Okay.
It's also the same place as the cement was poured for a bus shelter. So it's been, to a certain level, identified as a good space for people to wait for the bus. So an additional reason that a shade tree might be appropriate.
Okay. I didn't hear the bus shelter before, this is the first time I'm hearing that, but
It was in the plans for the Broadway Streetscape, and they identified it during the 2017 meeting as well.
Okay,
But then in the end,
it wasn't there,
they budgeted it out. They put
Okay.
the money
All right.
towards something else,
Okay.
so,
okay,
yeah. So it's just
All right.
a pad.
okay. Unless there's something else, I'll look at that and we'll look at the other and if we can get it in time, that's what we're gonna pursue. Any questions?
And what was the grant again? What was the name of the grant?
This is the Tree City Reward Grant.
It's $1,000 grant for anyone that's been in Tree City for more than 5 years.
It's from the Urban Forestry Council too, so. That's,
You didn't get it in the past, right?
we have not gotten it, no,
Okay.
no,
I keep track.
no.
Is it substantial enough for a tree? And
1,000?
yeah,
Oh,
And so see the trail going in front of like
Seems like
TVA.
two.
and,
Yeah, this is right where Henry Street comes out to Broadway, you know, where there's the gas station and then there used to be the bank. It's now offices for a nursing home
There's that
care.
clock there,
Yeah,
that my husband thinks they should knock down because it doesn't work and it looks awful. Anyway,
I like those street clocks, like
You
the
do?
one uptown, I love that
Yeah, he
street
has a
clock on Wall
problem with that
Street.
clock.
And I, you know, it'd be nice to get it repaired and reworking again, you know, like, I like that better than the digital ones you
Well,
see all.
maybe if they
like-
got it repaired, I
It's
think.
kind of, it's
He
like
just
just
thinks it
a
looks, he thinks it looks bad.
nostalgia, I guess.
that was part of the bank's thing. So when they took it over,
Right,
that wasn't really
But
part of the
I know
core.
like there was some discussion at one point with Hudson Valley Trust to kind of like reclaim this little kind of pocket and kind of do like a little food forest or some kind of like, you know, like work with the community to kind of create a little space.
okay.
So just leave this out there. So maybe it's not, I mean, it could be like, maybe order it at some point, you know, but just.
Yeah,
I know they wanted to kind of do like some workshop with the community and figure out
Okay.
what the community wanted to have, you know, here and.
that's an idea.
You know, I know like, Chris here.
I know we had talked about, yeah, doing workshops and
Yeah.
planting workshops. You know, I don't know if like, I mean, maybe those locations down along the rail trail might be good places to do where, you know, people aren't really on a street kind of, we can put them in a safe place, depending on the crowd and the number of people you would get to participate, you know, have a safer kind of off-street environment. That might be something. Yeah. Again, I had sent this around earlier today, but I just want to, again, bring your attention to it. This is a webinar, urban forestry webinar series. This looks like a really good one for the tree commission members. It's free, all right? So I would really recommend, it's an hour long, but you know, it covers tree planting and preservation, soil evaluation, soil amendments, tree infrastructure interactions, and pest management. So I think, you know, in terms of our commission members, I'd encourage you to, you know, join this if you've got the time, right?
And you just sent that
I
around.
just sent this
Yeah.
today, yeah, yep,
Have a little text.
It's coming up soon.
Yeah, 19.
yeah, it's June 29th, Wednesday, June 29th. Okay. We also got a communication from Sarah Wank. And her concern was with the trees at the new roundabout. And she said that a couple are dying. It's not the city's at this point. The city ultimately will be responsible for all of those, all the vegetation in the roundabout area. But we did reach out to the DOT, and I finally got the name of the new guy in Kingston, Jordan Strack. And he let me know that they are covered under post-planting care, and they are to be replaced if it's within 1 year. So they have been put on notice and the dead, so they're gonna go and do an evaluation of the entire planting at the same time with the landscaper, and then anything that needs replacement will get replaced. So if anybody asks you the question, the DOT is been made aware, all right?
Are they doing Broadway also?
This is a different project, this,
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
There's only one or two on Broadway that seems to.
That one was done by, the engineering department, and I thought that they went through and looked at all the trees after. I don't know if any are slated to be replaced, but, yeah.
I just noticed as I was driving up.
So they need to be, the planting beds need to be maintained. They're already overgrown and looking scrubby. A lot of the lower shrubs didn't take. But I thought they were all getting replaced. Some of the trees are sprouting real low, they need to be trimmed up. Yeah, that, I mean, that's going to be an issue, going forward. The city does have an individual in the DPW that is supposed to be managing the street trees. So hopefully that person will start
But did they have a contract?
attending to those duties.
Did they have a but they only put them in like a year ago,
Yeah. They were put in last year.
last year?
Yeah, yep,
Something they covered with something.
yeah. I mean, it's standard, that's a DOT project.
So that would be covered.
So it'd be a
too.
year,
That should be, okay, so then that should be.
Standard 1 year,
It's like
yeah.
1 or 2 that need to be.
Yeah. like the one on Green Kill, when we, unless you call them, I found out, unless you call them, they don't go out looking for trees to replace. And I don't know if it's they don't have time or they just don't want to be bothered, but, because after the year expires, then the opportunity is gone, the warranty's gone. But like we did with the Green Kill Avenue, we put them on notice, so it was good, several of those though did not survive. So
Yeah, they look
that-
terrible, and now they look good.
Now they're looking
I just
really
went by
good.
and they look really good.
Yeah, they're looking very good. Yeah, they're looking healthy. So that's good.
And
yeah.
the trees on Pine Grove are looking pretty good too.
Yeah.
That's a different,
That's a
that's a
different,
different maintenance.
I know, that's a different maintenance program.
Well, that's privately being
Yeah,
maintained
they
between the
still have the
Wines
bags,
and,
And I'm wondering if they're gonna take those away, because it's just, how long do you need to leave those on?
You leave the bag after, you don't leave the bag on over winter. You can put it back the second year.
It seems like they were there all year.
Sure, like,
They're probably empty. They're just hanging out.
I mean,
It's a
I
good way
was
to run
thinking,
the thing.
couldn't you take them off now?
Well, how long have they been there?
I'm sure that, well, when were they planted?
Whenever they were planted.
I think they just have been there. And
Yeah.
still, I mean, they
Last
planted-
year.
I don't think they were taken off this
Last
winter, but maybe the snow covered them and I didn't notice they were gone.
Little leaf lindens, they planted like.
Yeah.
You could leave them in, this year too, especially if there's a drought or something like that. But.
Well, you gotta
you can
have
take that
somebody to go back and fill them up.
At the end of the road, yeah, that's.
You could leave them there, and they're not
I
gonna do
mean,
anything.
when the sycamores over,
Yeah.
that they replaced,
Right.
they weren't full ever, everyone I used to drive by and
Yeah.
check them, they were empty.
Okay, so my next, just Kyla is not, here today, so, just real quickly on the planting grant for the fall, the spring planting is all done. And we are still taking applications for fall planting. Although when the trees went in, 2 weeks ago, we started getting a lot of calls, a lot of interest. Hey, what's this?
Oh, of course.
Now people are starting to like, yeah, well, how do I get, involved in that? So it's becoming popular again.
And what were the trees you put in? Remind me again. Which ones?
I
You
can't
can send
remember,
me, I'll have
George,
to go back.
you,
They were all 22 proposed.
22 books. Yeah, I remember they were all the same one, or maybe there was one other, there were two others.
I have a blank here. Too.
Right.
Okay.
2 shed bushes. And that, oh, by the way, I was just gonna pass this around, I was there when they planted 2 of them. And so we went through a lot of stuff kind of there. They were very nice, they're very good people, it seems. And I just wanna pass that around. The Amelank here, where, you see that orange thing?
Yeah,
That's pure clay, and that's what the Amelank here was sitting in, so I had them chop it out, it was like chopping out a clay pot.
where was that one?
The Amelank here was that.
Was that on Wall
I just thought
Street?
I'd bring in that, I was gonna make a photo, but I forgot
animal, what?
the shed bush.
Oh, the shed bush.
Shed bush. So that 126, 10 broke.
12610.
126 and 130, 10 broke.
So in
Okay.
other words,
It was
it
one of
came
them.
from the landscaping that way?
Yes, it comes in like almost a solid clay, I mean, you could chop it out with a jackhammer. And when it dries, it just becomes concrete. So I asked Kyla to find out where they got those 2 from, because it was just the Amelank here that had that. The other ones were from out western New York, from oh, the guy up there, the big nursery, they were okay. But what I do is I made, what you saw in that picture is I had them chop it out so that the roots will
Yeah.
leave that area, otherwise they will never.
And then it would die.
We had 18 out of 75 trees dead in Ossining because of that.
Really?
I predicted it the year before and it was like, how much did you?
Were they from the same nursery?
Well, yeah, that was where it was planted. That was, one of them is a Melanchier and one of them is
Is it from the same nursery as the Ossining ones? Or you don't know?
No, others.
Okay, all right.
This was that, and that was like where it came in kind of, so, so I had him chop out the roots, I had him open that up. But I kept the clay on the side because I was like, gee, anybody that wants, to make like pots and shit. It'd be perfect, I mean, like, that's good stuff. Anyway, so.
Craft project, yeah.
So, anyway, so we talked about planting them deeper and stuff and.
Okay.
Well, they got back to me, so maybe he was like, oh, but I never had.
And hopefully everybody will water them as they have promised to do.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Well, the neighbor-
I think the most, for the most part, the people that ask them,
Want
I
it.
really want them. I mean, I know there's a couple around the corner from me that I handed a thing to, and they got two of them because they're a corner lot. They got one on each street face, and they're thrilled beyond.
Now, all the places that we put flyers, did some of the requests come from those places? In other words,
Oh,
did our
yes.
work with the flyers
Yes.
come to fruition, or was it other random people?
No, a lot of them from, and we saw it when, like, we would hand them out, like, on a Friday, Thursday or Friday, we'd go out, right? The next week, we would see a real influx of a lot of them come through. Yeah, a lot over in the Roosevelt Park area. Got a real lot from there. We got a lot in that Midtown area. Not so many from like the Clifton Avenue, between Clifton and Foxhole and what Abbey and Darrenbecker and Stephon and those streets. We didn't get a whole lot of response there. Maybe one or two, three tops. But yeah, so.
I'm gonna need to talk to Carla though, because she needs to, did you guys place the order yet? I mean, you guys need to, like, if you're doing a.
Well, that's what she is shooting to, right, she's shooting to get the second half of this out in like midsummer so that she can order them by September. So that we have more of a selection. That's what happened. There wasn't the selection, there wasn't the response, there was. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen in the fall, if we'll even be able to get the commodity.
Which needs locations need to be done fast, so.
Yeah, yep,
And we, still, the first bunch, okay. But the second bunch, we wanna see them in some of the places that we identified.
yeah,
Some of those places which can have big trees, which are in areas that need it a lot more, not just people's choice.
right, I
So
mean,
you can
the
talk
thing
about
is,
that,
though,
because-
you're not gonna plant a tree where you don't have the support of the property owner. And, I mean, because, we can't randomly walk or run around Kingston and water individual trees, so we need support. And, we've sent it to the alderman, Kyla sent it out 2 or 3 times. I know I've sent it to them saying, when you're out and about, here it is. We've done press releases through summer. The mayor's posted it on the weekly newsletter that he puts out.
See, but the idea is to be planned.
Huh?
And to be planned, and this is a different kind of planning, this is not what the state's used to. And those locations, there are those locations that I identified. That, they're large locations and stuff that are near areas with very low canopy cover. And that one needs to approach some of those homeowners.
Well, that's why
and
we did
businesses.
this, that's why we went out there and actually walked in some of those streets. We actually took those locations, those areas, and walked house to house, members of this commission went and put flyers on every door
Okay, I don't
in
know.
those areas, yeah,
Right, see, I don't know where they ended up, I need to talk to her about it,
yeah,
and then see, you know, what happened, because I need to show what happened,
okay.
you know, so.
Yeah, she has it all, yeah,
Yeah.
Kyla's been tracking what we've done in terms
So
of,
far, it wasn't any of those spots, so, but if that was because she went to those spots, and she can say, I went to those spots, and we couldn't,
yeah,
that's fine, but I need to know that.
okay, yeah, she's got all of that,
Because you guys are planting a lot less than was planned, because, you know, things happened.
yeah,
You know, with everything, you know, so these are costing like $800 a tree, where they usually should cost half.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
It's a combination of, you know, COVID
yeah, right,
and the, you know, slow startup and other things, so like.
How many
I
did
was
we
just
end up planting? Because I know the original hope was for 60 trees. So how many did we plant?
21 went in,
21.
I
And
believe,
he's
yeah,
hoping for the same number in the fall.
at least,
It's
So about
pretty good.
2/3 of the original.
It's still pretty good. I mean, it's,
And it's very cost ineffective, so they're not very happy, you know, with it, you know what I mean?
did you go to Manza's wholesale tree farm? Is that where you got the trees?
No, they got the trees, you got the trees from out west.
yeah, they came from, yeah,
He's near Buffalo, he's very good, his trees are good, his trees are good. The Amalank here, I don't know where they came from.
That's
You
a
know,
pretty,
They came from, because he wouldn't do that,
yeah,
he wouldn't do that.
that's a pretty far commute to us. So the
Yeah.
trees were,
Well, you also have to pay like $500 for
Yeah.
shipping
yeah,
and that, but
but they were good trees.
he has good trees, yeah. He also does bare root, and he does all sorts of, he has a big selection, so, you know, you have to peg though, you know,
Yeah.
whether they should be small, you know, medium, small, medium, or large, and then do the order as fast as possible,
Yep.
because otherwise he runs out, yeah.
And where is he again?
He's near Buffalo, Schichtels.
Schichtels?
Schichtels. Well, there's another guy that's near Syracuse, but he won't deliver. And he also has a good, he's a small guy, but he has a lot of stuff, and he's near Syracuse.
They spell
And,
shingles.
and then Chicht.
Hey, I got it right.
And, yeah, and then there's, you know, Manza's is changing hands.
Oh, they are.
I have returned 3 trees from Newburgh, because I was like, give him this crap. And so I'm not so sure about Manza's anymore at this point. And then there's the big one over in northern Westchester. They will deliver up as far as here. And that's, would, something with a W, it's northern Westchester. I mean, it's a wholesale nursery, so they're also cheap,
yeah,
but they have a huge selection,
okay.
so.
See, but when we put the bid out, we put it out for installation and purchase and installation.
Well, Manza's
We don't just
people,
purchase.
yeah, well, Manza's people will, they work with people that will,
Yeah,
and so will this place, so will the place in northern Westchester.
okay,
And I spoke to, and I sent that to Kyla, there was a gentleman doing a planting down in Peekskill. And I was like, well, how far do you guys go? And he said, you come up and do it, as long as you have like 20 or more trees.
okay,
So,
That's a lot, yeah.
yeah, and he seemed pretty good. You know, I was there when he planted 3 trees, so.
all right,
The people that did your planting, though, they seemed very good too.
yeah,
And
I
I
mean,
planted a few of them a little high, we talked about it, I checked the first 2 that they did, like they were, it was.
Okay.
All the Washington, one
Washington,
of them was fine, one of them was a little high.
okay,
But we did talk about breaking up the root ball and give them a little bit of make a bigger hole.
okay.
Nobody likes to make a big hole.
Loosen that dirt.
By the way, the neighbor came along at Pembroke, the neighbor next to the one that.
That was yeah, he was the troublemaker.
Yes, yes, okay, you know that.
What did
Oh, yeah, I do know him.
Okay, all right. He says they're gonna die because they're not gonna take care of anything. Are you sure there's, you know, there's gas pipes underneath here? This is, well, they were checked for, and the person that was doing the stuff, they're checked and.
Yeah. Yeah, Yeah, no, we dealt with it.
Okay, all right.
Yep. We gave the guys a heads up to just ignore him and just do
Oh.
what you're there to do and don't worry.
Okay.
Where was it, in Timberland?
Yeah,
Simple.
Pembroke. Yeah, he's a neighbor, long story. Okay, all right, so anything else on the tree plantings? No, okay.
So, I have one question. You said that you're accepting applications for the fall planting?
Yeah.
That's going on now?
Yeah, we're still taking applications. but-
How many do you have so far?
I don't know, Kyla is got all of that. I get them and look at them and hand them off to Kyla. For the most part, most of them are reasonable. If I have a question about one, we'll look it up, but.
And I have one other point to make about the roundabout. They're not maintaining some of that too, it's all over in some certain areas. Besides the tree issue, and it's a sad state of affairs when you come into Kingston, you see that.
Yeah.
It's not, they don't cut, they did, the grass was pretty high, and then they did cut one section. But the piece that goes out on the avenue towards northern part. It's not well maintained, it's well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the one that goes out, Albany Avenue towards Ulster.
Towards us.
Yeah, okay.
It's really old, it's
Right.
overgrown, it's even went beyond the little peninsula.
Yeah. I'm not sure when the transition is supposed to actually take place, when the city takes ownership of it. I think there's a period of time and then they officially sign it over. But ultimately, it's going to be the city
Okay.
maintaining it.
The piece going on 587 looks pretty good.
No, that's the state going up 587.
That's healthy,
Yeah.
it's so nice. It's just the other part.
Anyway, okay, summer meetings normally what we have done is just no meetings over the summer unless we have a need to meet. We get any individuals that want to make or submit applications to us. Does anybody feel strongly one way or the other? So we'll say for now, no July and August, but if we need to, we'll come together and we'll try and keep it to what would be the typical date.
Okay.
Okay, and then plan to be back here at the table in September, if you're looking at your calendars.
And I think in September, we should start talking about the Arbor Day.
I believe so,
Because we got sort of lost and the school, we couldn't make things happen very fast at
Right,
the
well, I
school.
think the school, yeah, and Amanda,
Yeah, so-
I think Amanda did try very hard, but she was getting, the runaround from the school and she had anticipated responses and didn't get them and just didn't do, she should have followed up maybe a little bit more, I don't know,
So I think
whatever.
we have to get a
But-
commitment from them early on.
Yeah,
And if we're gonna get teachers or the ecology class or the club or whatever involved,
I still like that idea, I think that was
Yeah, I
a
think
great
it's a great idea. But it clearly, maybe teachers have their plans all set and they don't wanna be bothered,
Yeah.
so we gotta do it.
And also we used to do the poster contest
Mhm.
with the fifth graders. I think that's still gonna happen, right, George? Are they still doing statewide, that's still in
Well, it's
the
fourth
work?
and fifth graders now.
And fourth and fifth. I'd like that they're due December, right? They're due in December, the submissions?
Yes.
So that would be something we would want to start on, if maybe I'll ask a commission member to take that up and work with the schools just for that, so we can get, posters, because we did have a state winner one year from one of our schools, from, was it Bailey? No, it wouldn't have been Bailey at the time. We had the ceremony at Bailey, but they came from an elementary school, I'll look it up, it was a while ago, but we had a statewide winner.
Yeah, well, now they do the calendar,
Yeah,
where there's 12 winners.
okay,
It's good, so it's a good thing.
That's a nice idea.
so,
I'm assuming they're gonna do it again.
I have not heard other, yeah, I mean, it's been an
I
annual.
mean, the calendar part.
Okay,
Calendar.
yeah.
Although I must admit, I never use paper calendars. I got
Don't
sort of,
tell about
I know,
it. Don't-
I got sort of stuck on Google calendars, you know.
Well, it's a school calendar, they started with the school year because.
Oh,
comes
okay,
out-
that makes sense, yeah.
So when it comes out, it started now in June.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I have, is, Evan asked me to bring this up because he does work out of town. If we would consider changing the time of our meeting from an afternoon meeting to an earlier or evening meeting.
Like 5 o'clock or something, or
Maybe
even later.
5:30-ish, somewhere in that area.
It's hard for him to get here.
That'd be good for the public too.
I don't care. I thought there was an issue with using the building. 'Cause didn't we talk about changing? the
Well,
time once before?
I will definitely, I mean, if, I can look into it, and, I mean, I want to ask the commission members first, so if that's an issue for you, you know, then I would pursue it. But if daytime meetings are better for you, I'm just, you know, I said I would ask because Evan wants to continue, it's just difficult for him with his work schedule to get here. And Amanda works out of town, but she could normally make it here. She just couldn't today because of a conflict this evening.
Just as long as it doesn't conflict with the cat.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would look at the other regularly scheduled meetings, and if there was a conflict, I mean, it might end up being an issue of changing the day from a Tuesday to a, you know, Wednesday or a Thursday, I don't know. I mean, I'd have to look at that, but we'll look at what our options are, and I'll put them out there. And maybe we can kind of figure that out over the summer, and then September, maybe we'll have something new set up, if that works.
For me, I prefer it during the day than after hours,
Okay,
but, or like, a little later, but not too late.
not too late, okay, I got it, yeah, okay.
Or maybe like in the winter, it's nice to get it done earlier.
Yeah.
In the summer, maybe like I like to be outside and working in the garden or whatever, and then
Yeah,
a later meeting, I don't know, maybe. But I guess you wanna have it at the same time every week, and make it
it makes it
consistent.
easier, yeah, schedule wise, and we can get it on the calendar, and then once it's, you know, it's kind of set in the schedule, then that, it's like a placeholder month to month. This room is dedicated for this use. So, we have a few minutes left, do you want to talk about the land trust project?
Yeah, so when we did Arbor Day, we planted a beautiful apple tree near the community garden. And so we are currently working with the Kingston Land Trust and the Hudson Valley Bee Habitat, and also like, consequently with the teachers at the elementary school at GFK. So we've been working last weekend and we planted lots of plants and we went to our garden and it's beautiful and the community came and we are planting this gorgeous garden. We do lots of educational component to it and the teachers are going to come with their students to kind of learn about the plants. So we're going to have to design some educational signage. We are working with them also to implement a second phase where we're going to, like if we get a grant, we're going to build like a little outdoor pavilion for the teachers to bring their students during the school year, to bring them outside and to learn more and to meet outside. So it's bringing the kids in and out. And so we started here, and so the Kingston Land Trust is doing also a food forest. It's called the forest sanctuary. And the food forest is going like all the way to the top, to the down where the green line is and goes to the roundup.
Yes.
So all these areas are starting to plant like purple trees, and we did two, and we're gonna kind of, because pre-nature garden is also a fruit garden, so we are trying to get all this together. And so when we are at Arbor Day, I was speaking with you and others, and we are talking about putting more trees along the green line, like down there, some shade trees and also possibly some fruit trees. And we have met before with people from the housing complex here, and they were very much into like having like a food forest, like into like the inner courtyard and also outside. And so since we are on the food forest on top, and there's a community garden on the bottom, and we planted the apple tree, so it would be nice to kind of develop a full vision together and make like this beautiful kind of like food forest that would go, all the way to the elementary school.
I think it'd be great, I mean, the key is getting the housing
Yeah.
folks in, and they bought it, they like the idea, so
They like the
now that you've
idea.
got them, right, involved,
And the
right?
housing, like the person in charge of the housing was also totally up for it, so it seems like there is a consensus to do this way. So what we are trying to do is like to connect with the city here.
Yeah.
But who is in charge of planting the tree on the green line to make sure the choices of the trees are somewhat, like fruit trees and stuff, it makes sense to kind of.
Right. Yeah, we don't want to put shade trees and then fruit trees not get the sun that they need.
Exactly. So that's like,
Obviously.
we're wondering like who is in charge here of this project and we should talk to, and like this way I can, connect them to the Kingston Trust.
How far along is your plan? Do you have like a draft or a sketch of what your ideas are? Because we were thinking of putting at least a couple in that area, but they would be shade trees on that green line there.
Yeah, it would be good for now, what we wanted is to design with the community, so.
Okay.
We are trying to get some funding to kind of like do some workshop
Okay.
with the community to kind of like, get, not just to plant the tree, but to kind of like some.
If we put the trees being, where the entrance to you had the community garden, then you had the entrance into the Rundown Gardens, right, the housing. Then there's a stretch there. If we put a couple shade trees there, would that interfere? Because I think you're focused more up in the area where we planted the apple tree, right? Isn't that where you're looking at?
It's basically, we're trying to be like awesome and to kind of like,
Okay.
like in and out to kind of create, instead of having like the garden per se to use, and I don't know in which way like the shade trees can also be fruit trees. Some of them can be like, there's like some, the kiwi tree, they could be like quite big, if I'm not mistaken. So it can produce definitely some shade. So trying to figure out a way where we can. Like the prenatal garden does also fruits, it's just. So the shade tree can also do, fruits to some extent. So maybe finding the right trees for the right spot, and we can totally help on this to figure out what tree.
Hey, I know, we're gonna be leaving. Okay, yes.
We can talk about the whole boys, or?
Purples are a little small now, they
They're
can
kind of small.
like the kiwi tree, like not the kiwi,
The kiwi.
no, not kiwi, the vine, let's see,
Because there's an invasive kiwi.
the art kiwi, no, not this one. I see it, but I forgot the name. They have one at the native Cascade nursery,
Oh, okay.
and they are pretty big.
Yeah, with the, Jesus, what was his name? Just remember Diospyros, so.
Yeah.
persimmon.
Exactly.
Okay.
Do you think it would do though? It's kind of, but it's right near Hudson, so maybe, I don't know, it depends on the winds.
No, it does, the Catskills are like in the middle of the mountain, and it's doing fine. Have you seen that tree, Bob?
No, but that would be, I've seen others though that died, but they were down in maybe something.
I've seen them survive up in this area,
What kind of tree is it?
Persimmon.
Yeah.
They do grow very, very big,
Yeah.
but by the time they get very, very big, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that would be like, so I don't know who's the person.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to interject into this one, but I just want to make sure, there's one thing I wanted to bring up to the tree commission before you disband or whatever it's called.
All right, we have a couple minutes, that's it. Because they
I
have
didn't want to break you off, so. Okay, so Kingston Forward is the name of the citywide rezoning plan. And it's a form-based code, so it's very much rich in street design standards. And eventually, we've got the pedestrian bicycle master plan is also simultaneously happening. And there's going to be eventually a sidewalk district that's being worked on. It's mentioned occasionally in the Complete Streets Advisory Council. There was going to be a referendum coming up this fall, but they've delayed that a little bit. So in terms of maintenance, it really is important for the tree commission to really be talking about what kind of trees are needed in different places, because eventually we're gonna have a referendum to have, there's at least three ideas of how it would be funded, but they'd be with sales tax on property, a penny tax on sales tax, or an annual bill to property owners. And that would be a new way of maintaining the sidewalks that would not be the owners, it would be the city. So it's very important for there to be a real, something for the city to look at, for residents to look at, in terms of what the tree commission wants planted where. And we don't have that currently because the code is out of date. The tree commission has brought up putting in a new list. There's the unofficial list that nobody knows about. If you go to the code, you see a list that is actually not the list that you go on. So the community doesn't know what you want. And this is actually an opportunity right now, before July 1st. Feedback needs to be given to the consultants for the first draft, the first community draft. There'll be 2 other drafts, but we don't really know how much opportunity you'll have in the second and third draft. This may be the time where you really can get some good feedback that they can work with, as it is now in the form-based code street design standards. There's not talk about shade trees. I mean, there is talk about shade trees, but it's kind of a guideline. Shade trees should be considered very vague, entirely ignorable. And as we know that, and hopefully I just need 1 more minute, is that this kind of zoning code will allow for more of an intensive use. We'll have more tax dollars because we'll have more use of the already developed parts of the city to actually do infrastructure from our budget. But as we do it now, because we have, as we do it now, most of the upgrades are done through grants. And those are very fast-moving projects, and they don't allow for much input from the public. So it needs to be ahead of the game that these things are really shown. And this is an opportunity to actually have those changed while the new zoning code. It's a citywide, entirely overhaul of the zoning code. So if the tree commission wanted to get in a list, it could be done now as part of it. Or even more importantly, if the tree commission wanted to identify places that need shade trees, because the reality is, it takes 30 years for the sidewalks to heat. It also takes 30 years to need to upgrade the sidewalks. So this excuse that's constantly used of trying to get trees that won't upheave the sidewalks, it's just hooey. So really, there needs some pushback. We need some shade trees, and we don't get shade trees, we get lollipop trees because this planning that's done during the grant project process, that there's really, it loses some sensible steps. So I hope that, I know that it's too late for the tree commission to put something together, and you're not going to meet during the summer. So it's really up to you individually to go on Engage Kingston. You have 10 days to look at that. I think it's like 10 days. It's going to be the 1st of July. That's going to be the end of this input, but there's also the 28th, so what is it, like 14 days? There's going to be a public hearing, so you can go speak there. And you can look, if you look on Engage Kingston, it's the Kingston Forward Project. You can look at how it is online. You can actually put in to it in either the PDF or on the Gridix, put trees and look where it is, like Command F for the PDF for trees, and also on the online example, you can search by code word and see what they have for trees. It's just a lay or natural scape for the street design standards, and then there's a mention of we really should be doing more shade trees. And I would argue that there could be a whole lot more, and this is a huge opportunity, and it shouldn't be missed. Thank you.
I just want to say, one reason that we didn't put trees in the code is because it keeps changing. And so we said if we put a list and then the next year it's a different list.
It's really easy to update the list, you just go to the concept.
We're trying to avoid going to the comments.
Sure. Is this part of the city or?
I know that I don't get a tree because I don't trust.
And we certainly don't say
We have to adjourn because there's another group waiting for this room. So can I have a motion to adjourn,
Motion
please?
to adjourn.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye, thank you. All right.
Thanks.
Thanks.